My name is Christy Busby, and you are about to listen to the next episode of my podcast called F.A.T.E. From Atheism to Enlightenment. So come on in, join me. We're going to talk about it all, from atheism to enlightenment. Alrighty, guys, here we go. Get ready, and welcome to your F.A.T.E. Welcome, everyone, to the next episode of F.A.T.E. How's everybody doing today? On today's show, I have spiritual life coach and master intuitive shaman Tammy Adams is here on the F.A.T.E. podcast. I'm very excited to bring her on. Tammy, welcome to your F.A.T.E., my friend. How you doing today?
Thank you so much. I am doing wonderful. Thank you for asking, and thank you for having me. It's fun being able to talk about such beautiful subjects.
I'm very excited to get into your life story, your spiritual journey, who you are, what you do. You do so much. You are a spiritual life coach, you're a healer. You have your own podcast called Karma Talk. You are a
I do.
globally recognized life purpose shaman. So let's start at the beginning, Tammy. Tell us, what is your spiritual path? How did you become the shaman that you are today? What's your story? I love to hear it.
Okay. Um, yeah, it's an interesting one. So, since the very beginning of me being a child, I've always been intuitive. So, I've always been able to see things, feel things, know things, and I thought it was normal. So, I was brought up in a Catholic school with all nuns, very religious, very spiritual. Well, not spiritual, religious. Uh, a very big difference. But um, during that process, one of the things that I recognized probably around third grade is that I was different. And I was outspoken with my friends, and I would tell them, how do they not see Mother Mary? How do they not see Jesus? How do they not communicate with their guardian angels, and what's wrong with them? So I lived in the principal Mother Nun's office.
I was going to ask you, well, how did that go down?
Oh, it was so fun. I was, back in the day when I went to school, they beat you with the rulers. I don't know, it was a common thing. So I quite often had little rulers hitting me on the head or wherever else worked. But because of that, it helped, which was actually a gift. I know it sounds kind of like heavy, where you're just like, oh, okay, so you were constantly put down. Well, the gift is because of that, my mother sought out help, right? Okay, what's wrong with my daughter? Maybe she's consumed by darkness, or we don't know what's wrong with her. So she then sought out help, looking for teachers who could help me to understand what's going on with me. And due to their influence and their connections, it benefited me so that I can connect with the people that I connected with, to help me understand that I'm not crazy. I'm not uh, confused or seeing things, because the prophecies or information that I quite often saw was more considered from the holy people prophets, right? They wanted me to be a prophet. So they considered it prophecy. And they would say, oh, well, let her be, our prophet. Oh, let her be our prophet. And I'd be like, no, 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 no. I don't want to be a prophet. I just want to be someone helping people in the world. And it was a hard journey, because in order to do the work I do, I had to be repetitive, but also very confident and very sure of the direction I was headed, but also not filled with ego or this false pride of figuring out how to be, bigger than anyone else. Because I feel like that was the thing that rubbed me wrong in regards towards certain religions. So that's tiny bit of my story in a couple words.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that. When you were small child and you were speaking with angels and God, how did that communication happen? Was it an internal knowing? Was it a voice? Was it you would see apparitions? Like, what exactly do you experience when you're having these spiritual communications?
So one of them is definitely apparitions. That's for sure. Where I would see them, I would feel them, I would know them. Kind of like I'm talking to you. So I didn't learn how to drive physically until I was in my late 20s because I couldn't tell the difference between a human and a spirit or an angel. I was very confused, obviously, because I didn't know the difference. So I was afraid to drive. Have you ever heard of Medjugorje?
No, no.
Um, it's the modern day uh, um, place like Prague. Have you heard of Prague? The girls,
Oh, yeah, I've been to Prague.
okay. Okay. So it's the modern day Prague. And I lived with the visionaries who communicate with the Virgin Mary in Yugoslavia when I was a child. And
What a
because it was normal for me to see them. So then my mother let me go live there to live with the other ladies and one gentleman who saw Virgin Mary quite often. So to me, it's yes, I see, but I also hear and feel. It depends on what's going on. Like if you're in my presence, your guardian angels and the people that are around you would come to me more of a feeling and a knowing, or where I would hear the information, or I would even dream the information and then call a client or call someone I know and say, hey, I just had this separation, I just had this information, I need to tell you what I'm seeing. And when I was much younger, people would be scared because they were always true, right? So people would dread, obvious. I didn't know back then that people dread hearing from me, but it's I assume it's pretty scary hearing a child call, right? And say something that I would say. And my information was quite specific. So it was hard because I always felt like I was more of an adult. I never felt like I was a child because there was so
Interesting.
much responsibility and so much information that came to me. But I never felt odd, or I never felt upset or bothered or weird. I always felt like I was normal and everyone else was different.
I mean, what a gift. Because it could have,
Yeah, so that was
I
really
mean, that's a
beneficial.
gift. Yeah.
That was very beneficial.
And what a gift that your parents believed you, that they didn't send you into like severe mental institution counseling, that they didn't try
Well,
and deprogram you. Like
they
gifts,
well,
gifts. Yeah.
they yeah, well, they to justify that for a second, they kind of thought I was consumed by darkness, right? So they were trying to heal me, right? Because they were very, 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 very religious, Jewish and Italian people, right? So it was like Italian on this side, Jewish on this side. So was kind of a
But
religious thing, but it benefited me in the long run.
how do you feel about organized religion today?
That's a really good question.
That's a, especially from, you must have an interesting perspective. I'd love to hear
I
it.
I love I yes, I do. I love God. I believe in Jesus. I believe in Mother Mary, and I believe that Jesus is the Son of God. I believe in all of that. But I don't care to be a part of an organization. I believe that God created religions so people can have a baseline, right? So whether it's Hinduism, because I studied not all religions, because there's so many, but I've studied many religions, traveling the world from high and far, right? It just didn't matter where it was, whether it's Africa, whether it's Tibet, whether it's Nepal, it didn't matter. I went everywhere, studying religions and beliefs, Israel, everywhere. And one of the things that I realized is that every human being has one base, whether they call it God, whether they call it Allah, whether they call it Guru, says, Guru Nanak, it doesn't matter, right? Every single belief believes in a higher power. So I love that, but I don't believe one religion is correct and I don't believe one religion is wrong. I believe they all have a base to help to give us the stepping stones, kind of like learning math or learning reading, right? Here's the steps that you need so you can be educated, but that's what it is. I don't believe it's your core soul connection to who you're supposed to be. I believe it's a beautiful way of understanding some rules and some regulations and some gifts that we can benefit from, huge. and giving us morals and guidelines, but I don't believe it's something that makes us who we are. Because in the very beginning of time, every single one of us was given intuition, and every single one of us can communicate with our own guardian angel. So we don't need to have anything to misguide us or take us away from our own relationship with God. God's within every single one of us. And I believe that people misuse that in religion a lot. And most religions have created more bloodshed and war than more wars on the planet. So,
I agree with you there.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
more
I have a
for sure.
lot.
I'm
Yes.
sure of it. I mean, I have my own backstory with religion. I was brought up in the church, maybe similar to you, very hellfire, brimstone.
Very.
Was made to go to church 3 times a week. It never
Kept a
resonated
Bible in
with
your
me.
room.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
never resonated with me, and it made me go into science, and it made me push away from religion, and it made me very much settled into a. I was an atheist. I didn't believe in any gods for many, many decades, and then I had a
Wow.
health
Nice.
crisis,
You
and then
figured
I,
it
I
out.
ended up rounding back and getting into spirituality, and still to this day, I don't see myself ever going back to the church. I don't feel like
Yeah, but that's
I
but it's
don't
in
feel like you
us.
need to be in a building to be close to
No.
the creator.
Oh,
Um,
that's 100%.
but
100%.
I do now have I am still stepping in this path. I'm still walking in the direction, but I am now completely changed my core beliefs that I held on to for so many years
That's so
so
wonderful.
it is. It's been a very life-changing experience, and I feel like a different person in a
I know.
weird way.
I think spiritual, and this is just my opinion, but maybe you feel the same way. I believe that people who are spiritual are more sweet, loving, understanding, and people who are religious are more judgmental.
100%. I
And
think.
that's why I'm not a nun, because I was going to be a nun.
Oh, were you
So,
really? Interesting.
well, I mean, I lived in Yugoslavia with the visionaries, and Mother Mary was talking to me. So
Tell
I was
me,
like, oh, maybe I should be a nun.
tell me
Yeah.
about some of the premonitions and some of the communications you would receive. What would they be instructing you? Would they be giving you, um, what type of information were you getting?
There in Yugoslavia, it was all horrific. I lived there in the 80s, and it was during the time of the war. So we actually seen the missiles going overhead. I mean, it was horrific. So a lot of my information, a lot of the visions I seen was devastating, and talking about how God and our creator is furious that we do not know how to love one another, that our main focus.
Take your time. Take your time.
Is to be one.
Yep. Oneness. I understand, and I'm
Yeah,
going to be a little bit maybe overly stepping my bounds, but I
it's okay.
can
Go ahead.
I can imagine that someone like you feels like they have the weight of the world on their shoulders in a way, in a very filled with dread sort of way almost. I
Very much so.
I can
Very much so. Yes.
I
Great
can
assumption. Yeah. And when I lived in Yugoslavia, it was, which is now Croatia, Medjugorje, it was the most beautiful, the most purest, the most perfect place I have ever lived in my whole life. Out of all places in the world I've lived. But devastating and heartfelt with pain, because I seen the selfishness, I seen the greed, I seen the pain that God felt towards his children, and how we are so selfish and disconnected, and and not following our main purpose, right? Our purpose is so different than the lives we live today, you know? And them telling me, right, whether it's Mother Mary or God or the angels saying, "Hey, shaman, Tammy, you need to help people to find their purpose and help them come back to me, but not through religion, through love, right? Helping people to understand that life is a gift. But what we need to understand is that our disconnection from humanness, our disconnection from uh, society would help us to reconnect to our own relationship and our hearing and our knowing with our guardian angels. Does that make sense? Did I explain it right?
Yes, it makes a lot of sense. And I
And yeah,
I also feel that there is a lot of programming that we receive here that keeps us disconnected, divided, and and fear
yeah, I'm
based.
trying to say it nicely. That's 100% exactly the point. I'm trying to like, how do I say it without saying it in a not nice way? Yes,
I
that's
mean,
exactly it. Yeah, we are being reprogrammed. My son's 29, right? My beautiful son, and he said, "Mom," he said, "Do you know that I learned that there's these cartoons because he has 3 kids, and he goes, there's these cartoons that have these frequencies that play to program the kids." So that they want to keep continuing. And he looks into it. He's like super smart. So he does all this, like, investigating and programming and tuning and anyways, builds computers. He's one of those kind of people. And he said, I listened to it and I took away the the cartoon and then I listened to the programming and the other noises that are behind, and it's a certain frequency that they play. And then there's a lot of musicians and certain other people that I work with who tell me verbally that there's certain frequencies that are being played so that we become reprogrammed and connected. So now some musicians and really beautiful, amazing people are putting 432 hertz frequency in their pop music. The ones that go on the radio, the popular ones,
yep.
and helping to make that type of music so that it reprograms love, not reprograms control. So there's a lot going on in the industry with whether it's music, media, TV, whatever it may be, that is programming for sure.
I mean, the more and more I sort of dance in the direction of spirituality and I get into the true nature of our reality and how powerful we really are and how connected we really are, the more and more I am convinced of how orchestrated things are to prevent us from understanding that
Connection.
very thing, that
That's
very
right.
thing.
Yeah.
And I do feel that there are more and more people waking up to this and waking up to um, the idea that we are connected, that we don't maybe know our true history, that we haven't
That's
been
right.
told everything about who we are and what we're doing here.
Absolutely.
And part of my mission of doing this podcast is to start asking these questions and start
It's
having
so
these
beautiful. I love that.
conversations that
Yeah.
they need
God
to.
bless you for that. Yeah.
Oh, I mean,
Yeah.
it needs to be thought of more of as a mainstream conversation rather than a conversation that people are fearful of having. I feel that a lot of people get scared to speak about these things for fear of getting kicked out of their tribe or kicked out of their church communities or kicked out of their,
That's
and that
that's true. Yeah.
it's, I'm probably going to experience it myself.
Yeah. I've had I've had priests or preachers or whatever it may be, not recently, but let's say even up to like 13 years ago, maybe 14 years ago, come to my office locations and say that they're praying for me
Oh, and
so I
then
don't
when?
get consumed by the devil. And that because I'm doing healing, I'm doing something wrong, or because I'm, intuitive, I'm consumed by darkness or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And then I would, because I know the Bible very well, would throw that right back in their face and say, wait a second. So you're saying that Jesus was consumed by darkness when he talked to God. I understand he's the son of God. And what you're saying is the three wise men that were following the star and listening to angels were consumed by demons. And then what you're saying is Jacob, who then also was a dream interpreter, was consumed by the devil. And I would go off on these stories and they would just say, you know what? God bless you.
Yep.
And they would walk away
That sounds
because
about
all
right.
the stories that have ever been written, doesn't matter what book you're reading from, are always talking about how God and the angels talk to us directly.
Yes.
But man has wanted to take away that power so that we become followers, not leaders.
Yeah, I truly believe that organized religion, and you can't make it such a generalized statement that I'm going to make without the caveat of I'm not talking about every single church out there in the world,
No,
but a
no.
lot of
Yeah.
them are based in fear and control, and that is their purpose. That is the purpose they serve. And
Yes.
I know there's a lot of people that would jump on me for saying that, but that's just a fact that people need to start understanding and start taking back some of their power away from the church. They have to start taking it back.
Well, and I have to agree with you to a point because certain churches are absolutely amazing, like spiritual awareness church or spiritual oneness church or spiritual community church or whatever it may be. Um, or there's certain Christian churches that I've been to because I go to all different places and they're just like totally spiritual. They're not really religious, but there's some churches still to today that a lot of my clients would consider or even call them to me. They say, I'm a part of a cult. I'm a part of this. I'm part of that. And I say, well, I don't think it's an occult. It's not like they're doing sacrifices, but they say these harsh words because they feel like they're being consumed. Right. And
Yep.
there's a lot of um, rules. They have to wear long clothes. They can't wear makeup. They're never allowed to paint their nails. Their hair has to be closed all the time. There's all these rules and regulations if you're a part of these certain organizations. And God said that we are free. But how could we be free if man is saying that these are God's rules? And then this is where they get conflicted or conflicted. I said that incorrectly, conflicted within themselves. And they're sitting there saying, but if God is love, then why are there so many rules? But if God is love, then why is there so much hate? But then if God is love, why is it that only us, why can only we be chosen? Or, there's a lot of unanswered questions that people can't answer. And that's where I go back to the beginning of uh, one thing I know for a fact, and this is only through my communication and my own relationship with the guardian angels and everyone. And even when I used to communicate with Jesus quite often, not very often right now, that's like if it's an emergency or something, is what is going on with the world and what type of relationship are we meant to have with God? And I was told that God is like the brain in our brain, right? And the angels are our neurons, right?
Interesting.
So all the neurons inside of our brain are all the little angels sitting there saying, go this way, Tammy, go this way, shaman, go this way, Sally, go this way, Chris, do this, follow this. Don't go that way. This is not a good decision. So all our angels are guiding us and directing us. But because of us being told, wait, back up and don't listen to your intuition, back up and don't pay attention to that because that just may be someone controlling you in a dark demon.
Yeah.
And we're being taught for probably about three since the late early 1700s, actually early 1700s is when they took power away. Because I've done all these studies, I've done all this information that I wanted to know everything, where I worked really hard on trying to get to the bottom line of when it really start being separated from spirituality and science, right? And when you go back to Europe and you go to Israel and you go to those areas, it's Italy as well, you learn that they wanted to separate that to take power away from man. And if you look at the popes, God forgive me, I'm not saying anything wrong. If you look at the popes and you look at religion, at least half of the popes were actually very, very ungodly. And there was only, I think, about, I don't know the number now. I don't know, maybe 60 now total, right? Since the time. I don't remember. No, I lied. I don't know the number. I can't say to be exact. but however many popes there has been since St. Peter, most of the popes, 900 AD after Christ, um, 1400, 1100, there are so many popes that actually were very ungodly, very, very dark, created wars, had several wives, did bad things, etc. So then they wanted to change it. And then that's when they made, we're not going to get married. We're going to keep our priests, our holy people in celibacy. And this is going to change the rules and regulations. So they kept changing the rules. They kept rewriting the Bible. So when you're reading the Bible, you don't know which one's the real words, except maybe the red.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I have a lot.
It's such a it's such an overwhelmingly complicated thing to tackle because it's global. There's so many different denominations. There's so
Yes.
many different ways to believe. People have their own um it's very personal to people. Like
It's
it
super personal.
it is
It should be.
it absolutely should be. But I also think people should be able to have a discussion about religion without getting so offended.
Accept.
Yeah,
Yes.
and defensive.
Yes.
And there can be a logical based discussion that doesn't have to be emotional at the same time,
I agree.
I think part of being here on the planet is to maybe have more of an open mind. And I say that to myself, I'm talking
It's
to
yes.
myself as well,
Yes. And that's sorry to interrupt.
No,
And
no.
that's one of the things I was told when I was a child, when I was confused and I did not understand whether I was talking to good or bad or, God or angels. I didn't know because I was, being told several different stories. And every bit of information that's ever been told to me, every bit of information I still see to today is always out of love and light. The best that I can ever say or guide or give a solution to a human, it's always positive, it's always good, and it's always to defend you and for your greater good. It's never information that is misleading, selfish, greedy, misguiding, or for that person to become selfish or dark. It's always for the better. And I've only seen information that comes from your guys' guardian angels and comes from a higher power that is so innocent. I don't even know how to describe it to you. And God said since the very beginning of our creation, you are out of my image of love. And we keep forgetting that. It's not about who has power, who has control, who's the boss. It is love.
I mean, all of the conversations that I've had with people that are of intuitives or that have any kind of um, gifts with speaking to angels or anything, the thread that binds you all is that it is love. It is all comes back to love. And for some reason, we as human beings have such a desire to um, judge each other, to have power over one another,
Yeah,
and to be selfish and greedy. And I think that is a lot of our programming is to even you can tie it to even the economy, which is such a dog eat dog capitalistic.
that's
The
right.
biggest dog wins the
Unfortunately.
bone, and
Yes.
we are taught to be over competitive and to slice and dice anybody
In a
that's going
very young age.
very young age from our schooling sports on up. And we need to start talking about how we can cooperate more, not compete, but
That's
cooperate
right.
and accept
Be as
and
one.
love. Be as one. Exactly.
Yes.
Um, Let me ask you this. A lot of
Yes.
people are not informed entirely on what a shaman is
Yes.
spiritually and how you become a shaman. Can we talk a little bit about that, the word
Beautiful.
shaman and what that means?
So, shaman really means to be a healer, to be chosen from a higher power as someone who can be the, the messenger and the healer for someone. right? These days, people label shaman as someone who's going to do a ceremony and they take it in a different aspect. That is not me. The whole purpose of me choosing the word shaman and allowing myself to go by that name, Life Purpose Shaman, purpose, means that I am here to help to guide you, heal you, and direct you towards the path that you're meant to be, that God and your guardian angels and the higher power has told us about. Not something that is because I'm powerful. So I'm trying to give all glory back to God, not by me becoming great, right? Yes, okay, I'm the messenger. Yes, I'm information. Yes, I'm a tool. But I don't want my name to be great. Yes, okay, let the whole world know me. That's fine. But glory goes back to where it belongs, right? I am just a tool. And we are all tools to be a part of this big, huge, like, imagine the most beautiful orchestra symphony you've ever heard. And we're all a part of the orchestra, right? And now we're going to play a song together and we're going to make the most beautiful harmony by all being connected as one, right? But we're all different.
Right.
String, right? Whatever it may be, wind, whatever. And when you allow yourself to be a part of that connection, everything allows itself to go in full, you know what I mean? It just goes like this. It goes like a whirlwind of a vortex of movement of positive energy. And that's what our guardian angels want. So when I say I'm a shaman, and what a shaman means is someone who is to help the tribe, help the congregation to do what's best for the whole team. But not because I'm great. I am just the shaman helping. I'm just the tool. But everyone's great. Everyone has a purpose. Everyone's powerful. But we forget that. So that's what I do. And that's what it means to
I
me.
I love that. And you have various platforms. You have you help people discover not only their life purpose, but their soulmate. You
Yes,
also
which is my
do,
favorite.
I mean, that's amazing. There's lots of
That's
people,
my
including
favorite.
myself, and they would love to be in
I'm
that.
great at that.
I mean, there's many, many, many things about that you offer people that can come and finding your soul purpose in life is what we're all supposed to be here doing anyways. We get distracted with
Exactly.
our life and having to survive and work 3 jobs, and we have kids, we have schooling, we have spouses, we have mortgages. There's just not a lot of time in one's day to figure out one's sole purpose anymore. We don't have it almost seems like a
We don't have the
luxury.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it feels like a luxury if you have time to seek out your,
No,
doesn't prevent me from
and it's so
pursuing
funny
that,
you said
but
that because that is so true. A lot of people, unfortunately, who could um who take advantage of my services and take advantage of working with me are usually those who are at the end of the road and really want to, like, if you were to say, okay, what's your client uh, dynamics, what are the type of clients that look for you? It's usually people who have retired early. It's people who own their own business and have more time. It's people who are more higher profile people, who really can take that time out. But my mission, my magic that I want to share with the world is for people who really need me, not just those who can afford me,
right. Right, right, right.
and who need to make a difference, because there's people in the world. Let's say you're a teacher and your teacher gets pinged bills. This is great. This is perfect. This is what we need to do. This is the right direction, right? I would help that person. This is just a silly example. I would help that person understand their mission, understand her purpose, help her to figure out, or him, help whoever it may be to figure out what is your purpose, give them that information, right? Explain to them this is what you should be doing. Don't stress, have faith, have confidence in who you're supposed to be, guide them towards the path that they're supposed to be. Not only do they always become more prosperous and more successful, but they're always also allowing themselves to now follow their purpose and their path. So everything else is going to be lined up like this. Perfect.
I will give you a little bit of my own personal journey with opening up to one's life purpose.
I would love to hear.
I've never told this story on the show, but a few years ago,
Uh-huh.
I went and it was kind of just in the beginning of me opening up to spirituality, and I got turned on to this woman out of New York who said that who will help you contact your spirit guides and get information. It was a phone call, and
Nice.
we ended up being on the phone for 4 hours. But one of the
Wow.
things that she said to me was,
Probably felt like 5 minutes though.
it did, and it was so informative, and it was, you know. But one of the things she told me was, "You are going to." She said, "You have no idea what's coming up for you. You are going to touch people's lives and teach them how to love one another, and you're just gonna do it." And it stuck with me. And the whole 4 hour conversation was illuminating, but that particular snippet was like, hmm, what am I going to be doing that is going to do that? I don't understand where
How
that
can I
came from.
make that happen?
What is that?
Huh?
And a year and a half later, I decided to start a podcast, and I've only been doing it less than a year, but I
God bless
can't
you.
tell you, Tammy, how the universe has supported me in this
Always,
endeavor. It has been a
always.
truly remarkable situation. I This gentleman, shout out to O Books, um, out of London, is a PR for spiritual based books. Saw me on my YouTube channel and said, "Hey, can I start sending you guest requests?" And this was like within the first 3 months, and I started getting guest requests. Like, people have just, you
That's how
guys
it
came
goes.
along. Like, the universe is just supporting me
That's
this.
always,
And I think if
always.
people understood that there is a soul purpose out there that they should start aligning with, that it will
Yes,
happen for them, and they don't even.
always,
It's
always. There's this,
exciting.
it is so beautiful. You just reminded me of a small story. I'll say it quick. There was this lady who was, she was an atheist,
Mm,
and she was very interesting, and she worked for a huge computer company. I can't say. And she was the programmer, like she was the one who got paid a lot and, created the programs and did all those kind of things. And her husband passed away, God bless her. So her husband showed her a vision of me in her dream. So she followed and she found me. And her husband was a believer and he passed away. And she was like, I need to find out the answers. So, long story short, she ends up coming to me, end up working with her, told her purpose. She, thank God, listened, which was extremely difficult. She was extremely difficult to deal with, very hard to work with. But in the end, now she's traveling the world sharing her story on stage, wrote books, transformed her children's lives that at the time were 5 and 6. Um,
wow.
has been offered to go on Oprah, all sorts of things. I mean, she probably has been on Oprah. I haven't been keeping in touch with her because once I help someone, I'm like, okay, God bless, have a blessed day. If you need me, call me, and she does
Yes.
reach out every once in a while and says hi, but I don't ask, what have you accomplished? I'm like, it's so wonderful. I'm so proud of you. I love people. Long story short, every human being that I've ever worked with, whether it's on stage, now they've become on stage, or now they've, started their own um, art studio or their small company, or now they're working at a firm that they never thought they can, communicate with and connect with or be accepted by. Every single one of us has a purpose, and not all of us are the same. But when you're doing your purpose, like you just said, the universe brings it and it just happens and happens and happens, and every door keeps opening.
Yes.
You do not have doors that close
Yes.
when you're following your purpose.
Yes.
When you will, here's a beautiful example. If you want to sit there and say, how do I know, Shaman, Tammy, whatever you guys want to call me, how do I know I am going to have, or I'm going down the wrong road? The doors will keep closing. But we keep wanting to open that door. You see what I'm saying? We keep wanting to open that door and we're like, nope, I insist on making sure that door opens. The universe is showing you, your guardian angels are like, wait, stop. You're doing the wrong thing. Stop. But we force it open. And then we sit there and we're like, why didn't it work out? Why? Why is there so many problems? Because we repetitively, like exactly how you said it earlier, we repetitively focus on what we are taught, what we are told, and how we are programmed. You have to make this much money. You have to have this kind of house, this kind of car, this type of schooling, these type of clothes, this type of look. We have so many um, fears, is the real truth,
Yes.
of not fitting in, of not allowing ourselves to keep up with the Joneses and allow ourselves to be on that level so that we can be accepted. There's so much pressure in society these days, where before it didn't matter. It was just you are who you are, and people loved you because you're amazing. And one of the things that we forget is that when you're living your purpose, you may lose fake friends. You may lose certain things that are going to happen in your life that you didn't need, right? You're going to sit there and say, I don't really need that car. Or, I don't really need that house where I lived over there, because everything was not real. And then you start realizing you didn't just lose something, you're gaining, because you're starting to climb up and everything's now starting to fulfill that dream that you had before you even came here on this planet. Every part of your soul is starting to reach this level of satisfactory and joy and happiness and harmony and this feeling of knowing that you're on the right road. And people don't allow themselves to reach that because we allow ourselves to live in so much fear.
Yes. Yes.
So that's what I work on.
100%. And I will say this. I don't know what your rates are. I haven't looked, but it is worth every penny, because that
Oh, for
money
sure.
is going to
Everyone's told
come
me that.
back to you
Every
tenfold.
Yeah,
I mean, and it's an
everyone said that.
investment that is
It's an
going to
investment.
pay off for you in so many ways, not only financially, but emotionally fulfilling. It
Well,
will,
wise.
I mean, another thing that I've learned through going into my walking my own path is I worry less about working so hard that we're programmed, and I worry more about what am I thinking, what am I saying, and how am I feeling. And I have a new little mantra that I tell myself: don't work harder, vibrate higher. Don't work
Yeah,
harder,
I like that.
vibrate higher.
I
I
like that a lot.
you know,
I like that.
it's
Yeah.
not about the work, it's about your emotional state and
Yep.
vibration.
Well, and that's just so extremely important. People forget that meditation is so super extremely important. We wake up in the morning and we're constantly we're waking up and we're running, we're rushing. If you want to have the most beautiful day, exactly, and you just reminded me of such a beautiful step of homework for every human being out there. Start off your day by allowing yourself to have purpose connected to it. Set your intentions and start manifesting and preparing the magic that's about to come. Being in your bed just for a moment, even if it's just for 2 minutes, focusing on allowing yourself to connect with the vibration, connecting with the energy of what you want out of that day. And then before you go to sleep, pay attention to what you want for the next day
Yes.
and what you were thankful for,
I
but
think
also forgiving.
100. I also think that people need to understand that they really that that which you had just informed everybody um to make a routine, they will start seeing the impacts of that within a
Oh,
month or so.
yes,
Like, it'll
you
happen
will.
fast. You will
It
start
does.
seeing improvements. You'll start seeing synchronicities. You'll start seeing things show up in your reality that you have intended to be there. I mean, it's really we live such magical lives, and it's a tragedy that we are blinded by our magic. It's a
We are
tragedy,
blinded by our magic. That's a beautiful
you
statement.
know?
And you said something a second ago where you said that everything will happen so quickly as soon as you allow yourself to be open to it. So many people have shared with me and have told me, they say, Shaman, I'm starting to see all these signs. and I'm starting to get all these messages. And they said, it's so weird. Why didn't I recognize it before? And I said, because you weren't open to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
We are so blinded
Yes.
to the magic, to the
Yes.
gift
Yes.
that is given to us on a daily basis, all day long from our guardian angels.
Yes.
And we do not pay attention to that information because we're afraid
Yes.
that we're being misled, or we're afraid it's false information or whatever it may be. When in fact, it's the perfect direction.
And this is going to kind of lead me into my next discussion here. But I think the other part of the problem is we are never alone with our own thoughts anymore. We constantly, I'm going to say it again, one of the things that I have changed dramatically since I've been on this path is that I no longer wake up in the morning and turn the TV on. I no
Yeah.
longer wake up in the
Thank God.
morning and look at my phone. I
Ah,
wake up in the morning, I have a cup of coffee, I go sit outside and I look at my beautiful view and contemplate my day for an hour.
that's so beautiful.
I mean, well, I'm freelance, so I'm off. I'm in
Yeah.
between jobs right now. I can't do that
No,
all the
that's
time.
no,
Normally
no,
I'm
but
up
that's
at 4 in the
awesome.
morning,
No,
but when I
no,
can.
no, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And keep that going and get
I
up at
mean,
3:30 if you have to get up at 4. But yeah, having that minute
yes.
and having that hour or having that 10 minutes, whatever it may be, just being able to allow yourself to take it in
Yeah.
is such magic. It changes your attitude. Even my husband said the other day, he said the most silliest thing. He said, "Did you notice how happy?" Because we just had a discussion about our son no longer having TV inside his bedroom, and we took his TV out, even though he's 29. But we went to his house. We said, "Listen, we noticed you've been a lot of stress and blah 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 blah. Let's take the TV out. You could put it in our storage, whatever." And just have one TV in the front room for the whole family if you guys want to watch like a Christmas show or listen to music or whatever it may be. And he said, "Mom," he said, "I have been sleeping better. I don't feel anxious." This is my son
Yep.
that knows the right thing, but still doesn't listen because, he lives on his own. And he said, "It's just, I feel happy." He goes, "It's just so much less stress."
I've had a
We
similar
don't listen to
experience.
stocks and news and all that kind of stuff. And it's just a blessing. When people don't, yeah, follow that. But yes.
Well, it's such a for me, because I like your son had that terrible habit where my grandmother, I can remember even she would go to sleep with the TV on when I was a child. I can remember when I would
Wow.
spend time over there. We'd go camping or whatever, but
Understand.
she would leave the TV on all night, and I can remember being 7 years old and sleeping in the pop-up tent and hearing the TV, listening
Wow.
to the TV to go to sleep was something that I did on a routine basis
Routine. Uh-huh.
for decades. I have only just been able to break that habit myself in the last, I would say, year and a half. It's a
Oh, it's so
terrible
beautiful.
habit. But you are so right when you say if you can get rid of the screen at night, you're going to sleep better, you're going to be less
You will.
stressed, you're going
You
to
will.
you're going to feel overall better about the world because let's face it, I used to watch way too much news and it would
Oh,
fill me with dread. It would fill me with dread.
yeah.
And I've kind of detached from what is happening in the world to the extent
Thank
that
God.
I I see it kind of happening over there, but it doesn't influence my emotional well-being. It doesn't influence my day-to-day. And I come from a perspective that is of a higher plane, and it allows me to ingest news that would alarm me in many years before, but now I kind of just stay in my own. I am much less able to be taken off my rocker or
It's very good.
influenced emotionally by things in the exterior world. I'm just not as impacted like I used to be.
And
So,
that
which is a
and
good thing.
that's what I wish we can share with the rest of the world to help to open their eyes. Like, okay, like I get it, watch a fun program. There's a lot of benefits to technology, right? Like we're on technology right now, benefiting from it. but there's an overuse. It's like drinking too much water,
Yep.
right? You could drink too much water and it could get you sick, or you can get very hurt from drinking too much water. You would never think that, but it's true. And I mean, like too much water in a quick time. It's the same thing with any subject. Too much of anything is not good for you. Too many vitamins is not good for you. Too much meditation is not good for you, because then you're missing out on the world and the experiences. Technology is a gift, but it's a gift you want to use seldomly. It's one that you want to allow yourself to enjoy when it's necessary, but to not be, not having that conflict, or that, oh, I really want to get to that program. Oh, I really, forget about the chores. I really want to get to that program. Or forget about that, essay I have to write, or forget about that project I have to do. I really just rather watch that, that movie or that episode. And then there's 4 hours later, you just wasted 4 hours because you just,
Binge
had to keep
watched. Yeah.
continuing. Yep.
Yeah.
And
Binging.
a lot of people are having complications these days on that realm of losing themselves literally into the screen.
Yes.
They're losing themselves, even if it's just social media, like scrolling. My daughter even told me that. She said, Mom, she goes, I caught myself um, staying up till like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, just scrolling. I said, what's so important? I mean, you have to get up at 6. What are you doing? Like, it's not that important.
I think it's addictive, right? It's addictive.
It is.
It is. It's
It
like
is. It's like candy and sugar.
it is. It's hitting the slot machine. What else? What let's hit it again. Let's hit it again.
Yes.
I mean, I'm definitely been guilty. Like I mainly watch TikTok. I do a lot of they do amazing dog, cat, pet videos. Like I used to be
No, no, I don't have it.
I
But
used
okay.
to be in the animal field. I used to be an animal trainer, and I very much
Love fun.
still
Love animals.
love animals. And
I love
I
animals
have
too.
they have the cutest little animal videos that you can imagine on there, and you can literally get lost in time scrolling. And it is like hitting the the slot machine. What's next? What's next? What's next?
Exactly. That's a great example. Beautiful example.
I-
Yes,
it is addictive, and I think it's meant to be addictive. And that's
absolutely.
the danger of it, is
Absolutely.
that it's not out there without nefarious intentions, in my opinion. All of
Yeah.
this is
It's
under
very
the
heavy.
guise of, oh, it's fun and this, but it is addictive. They know it's addictive. They
What do
understand
you,
what it's doing to us,
it's
and they're letting
what's
it
funny?
happen.
Yes, it's funny because I don't know if you watched that program. I didn't finish watching it. Um, it was like social media or something like that, social drama, social media. It was on Netflix.
I
And I
I
watched it with
I
my
think I
younger
remember.
daughter.
Mm,
Yeah. And it was the people who created the social media said they don't even allow it in their home.
yes, exactly.
And I
And
was like,
and
huh,
yep.
you created it. And they have this whole process of how to like find people and how to put the click in your face. And I don't know. It's interesting things. I don't know how to describe it, but it's definitely uh
It, it's
programming,
it's
as
changing.
you mentioned in the beginning.
Yes, it's changing humanity as we know it, and not for the better.
Yes.
It
Mm.
just is. It's making us more self-involved, less connected, and
Mhm.
addicted to something that is bad for our mental well-being, and it keeps us disconnected from ourselves,
Oh, yes. And that is the one bit of homework I give to people all the time when I work with people is don't call your friend or don't text your friend. Go see this person. Get on the phone and allow yourself to set up a moment where you can go have a cup of coffee or go have lunch or go have dinner or go get together. People are not gathering like we used to gather. And when we do gather, I don't even know how to describe it to you. There's so much anticipation and there's so much worry of what they're going to say about me, what I'm wearing, what I'm doing. There's this one client I have who literally said, I have to go to Thanksgiving and I'm petrified because I have to see my family because they're going to judge my kids and what we are wearing. And I said, I wouldn't worry because it doesn't matter.
I mean, the gift that if you could give the world, that I personally subscribe to. It's one of the reason I'm able to come out here and do a podcast is I go by this. What other people think of me is none of my business or concern. It's not. It's none of my business.
That is exactly a fact. And every human being should be, and I love you for saying that.
Yes.
Every single human being should be saying that. So many people tell me, people tell me at the bank, people tell me over here, it doesn't matter where I'm at. Literally tell me that they can tell that I do not care what people think. And I said,
It's a gift.
why
Right?
should I? Yeah. Like, why
Such
should
a
I?
gift.
Because like today I combed my hair and made myself look pretty, but it's because I have things to do. I do not worry about judgment. If I worried about judgment, I wouldn't be in the business I am in. I wouldn't have the success stories I have. I wouldn't have the accomplishments I have. And I definitely wouldn't have the guts I have.
Yeah.
Because when you care about what people think, then that judgment, that fear of what someone's going to say, what someone's going to do, how someone's going to react, how are they going to look at you? Are they ever going to come back? What are they going to share with the rest of the world? All of a sudden, it destroys you.
It does.
And that's something that it's almost like they're creating that so that we can allow ourselves to then, again, like I mentioned earlier, 1700s, fall in our own intuition,
Yeah.
disconnect from our own intuition, disconnect from our own power. And that's not good. You know what I'm saying? Our focus is supposed to be about us allowing ourselves to be connected to our relationship with our creator, connect with our relationship with our guardian angel, allowing ourselves to be open with inside of our chakras and point levels in our body, helping ourselves to stay in balance and manifesting those gifts, manifesting those miracles and the magic that we're meant to have.
Yes.
We were created so that we can all have happiness, joy, harmony, peace, love, and of course, a soulmate. But we forget that. So if we can keep reminding people on a daily basis, as you are, and helping people to see, that would be awesome.
I mean,
Then we can change the world.
the whole goal of this podcast is to raise the vibration of this planet.
Exactly. That's right. Well, I feel like that was what was supposed to happen in COVID.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It was like COVID was like this miracle and this gift
Yeah.
of everything happening where we are supposed to be allowing ourselves to get the information. Sorry, everyone keeps coming in and out. Get the information. We are supposed to be allowing ourselves to learn how to reconnect with nature, right? Nature changed. How massive did nature change during COVID?
It came back to life. I mean,
India had clear skies.
exactly.
Did you hear about that?
Exactly.
I know. So if we get back to ourselves again, right, and take our power back, imagine how we can change the world and how beautiful things can be.
I'm so glad you and I align on so many things, Tammy. Like, I'm so glad that you brought up nature and that we are a part of nature and that it is not something that we should stamp out or take dominion over. It is something we should be with, embrace, and save for the love of God.
Yes, that is my biggest, hugest place I send people for homework. Spending time, whether it's at a beach, whether it's at a lake, whether it's in the mountains, it doesn't matter where we're at. Whether it's in your own backyard, like you said earlier, with yourself.
Yes.
Nature, see, when I think of who's our mom,
Yes.
I think Mother Earth. When I think of who's our father, I think of our creator, God in heaven. Jesus is our brother. Of course, he's the son of God, but you get what I'm saying. And I believe our guardian angels are our best friends. But we're not allowing ourselves to take advantage of all the gifts that we have, right? By letting our best friends guiding us, letting our siblings and our family help carry us through, struggles or whatever it may be, letting our Father hold us and guide us. We all are trying to allow ourselves to become, yes, individuals, but at the same exact time, we're not individuals. We're actually allowing ourselves to be very massive followers.
Yes.
Living your life's purpose, following that mission that you came here to accomplish, is the biggest satisfaction you'll ever feel in your whole soul. And connecting with your soulmate and knowing that you have one person who's meant just for you, that is your like complete opposite, but yet at the same exact time, your hero. You're the person who will never doubt you, never can be confused or feel like you're odd. You can say the sky is purple and they'll be like, "Oh my gosh, you're serious." Yes, I see it, you know? And they'll say, "I see the purple hue." And because they will see the tiny bit of purple. You know, maybe it was the way the sun was setting that day, but they would have complete confidence in you. And that's a soulmate. And people don't understand that's what we all need. And if we all had purpose and soulmate, the world would be a better place.
Yes. Yes.
That's what
Well,
I believe.
I mean, all we can do is keep shouting it from the top of the roof, my friends. And you are well beyond where I'm at. But I got to tell you, I could have you on the show again. There's
Yes.
so much more to talk about with
There's
you.
so many
There
things to talk
really
about.
is. And like,
No.
you know, you and I are aligned on so many things, and I would love for you to come back on the show and we could talk about karmic healing. We could
Oh,
talk,
so many things to talk about.
I
Karma,
mean, I mean,
the chakras,
yes.
so many things. So many things.
Will you come back on the show in 2025 and let's do this again?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, we will set it up.
I would so enjoy
I
that.
would
I
be
know
honored. I would be honored. Yes.
my audience would love it. I mean, I think that you are a gift, Tammy. You are
Thank
a
you. I love what
gift.
I do. I really do
And
love what I do.
there needs to be more of you in this world for sure. And I will do whatever I can to have you on and talk about your gifts and talk about the real nature and purpose for us all being here. And
That would be a
that is
blessing.
the
Yeah.
the real deal, the
That's the
goal.
real, yeah. Yes. That's the goal. And that's what's going to make the world go round and make it magical and help us
Yes,
to become one again is by
yes,
giving them the secret.
yes,
Um,
yes.
One thing that people have called me since I was a child is they've always said I was the best kept secret. I don't want to be a secret anymore. I want to give everyone the secret. That's what I want.
It definitely needs to be it needs to be out there because I know it has completely transformed everything about my life. Like I walk around with so much less fear in my life. I don't fear dying anymore. I don't feel like I die at all. I'm an
Yeah,
eternal being of light. My
that's
consciousness
right.
is going to
We always,
live beyond
yeah,
this body, you know?
we come back and then we can do it again.
Yes. And we are here to
There's so much to talk
learn.
about.
I mean,
Yeah.
there is. I mean, I could go on another hour with you. I
I
know
can as well.
you are a very busy woman and I will keep it to
Yes,
an hour, but please let's do this again in
we will.
2025.
We
I
will.
truly am honored and so grateful that you came on to be a part of the
Thank
Fate
you.
podcast, and I can't wait
It
to
made
have
me
you back.
happy.
It made me happy
Yes.
too. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a wrap on this episode of Fate from Atheism to Enlightenment. I would like to thank Tammy for coming on the show and spending her time today. I will put,
Absolutely.
how can people reach out to you for your services?
Sure. Go to lifepurposeshaman.com at lifepurposeshaman.com. And anyone who wants to reach me could find out more information. I have different locations all over, so that's the best way to reach me.
I will put that in the show notes so people can directly reach you. We're going to go ahead and call it a
Perfect.
wrap. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next week on the Fate podcast. Journey well, everyone. Bye-bye. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a wrap on this episode of Fate from Atheism to Enlightenment. I mean, I loved this conversation. I want to have more of these conversations. It really checked all the boxes as to how I've been feeling about approaching spirituality, my life. And I mean, Tammy Adams, the Life Purpose Shaman, is the real deal. I mean, she studied with everyone from John Paul II to the Dalai Lama to Mother Teresa. She's been all over this world. She's studied all types of religions. She is truly a gifted, uh, intuitive, and man, I'm glad she's out there spreading her gift, allowing people to get on their own paths of finding their soul purpose. And I highly recommend that if you feel this resonates with you, do it. It really will open up avenues to you and bring you a sense of calm, peace, and joy that you've never had before. And I've really just enjoyed speaking to people like Tammy who were on a similar journey, although I have no intuitive gifts. I'm certainly out there asking questions, illuminating people, maybe giving them insight, maybe really shaking you up enough to start investigating your own potential, your own being, finding out who and what you are, getting on your path. It will pull you. It is almost like um, effortless in a very weird, magical way. And life is magical if you can tune into that. And I know it's not easy. People have um, many stressors in their life, whether it be financial, health, marriages, jobs. There's so much in our lives that causes us to be out of alignment, to not be in tune with our inner being. We don't have time for meditation or a spiritual practice. We can barely get to the gym or eat right. So it is sort of a big ask in this day and age for people to take a beat, be still and quiet, give yourself time in the morning, set your intentions, start tuning in to your inner voice, listening to your intuition. I mean, it's a practice. It's something I've been working on for maybe almost a year now, of like really transforming the way that I approach my life. And I think it's December right now. This episode probably won't air until next year. You can see my, if you're on YouTube anyways, you can see my beautiful Christmas window that I have up here. Love it. Love decorating. Love the holidays. This probably won't air till 2025, but I will say I think I'm going to do an episode where I just kind of talk about the different practices that I have in my life now, my approach to life, how the many habits that have changed from not consuming the news to not watching, binge watching TV, to setting intentions, to a meditation practice, to how I view the world, to how I view myself, and how I speak to myself, and all of that has been transformative for me and has really given me a sense of peace and contentment. And my life's definitely not perfect. I definitely, I still have symptoms. I still have residual health issues, but I really do live in the world of vibration, resonance, vibrating higher, and um, manifesting in a way that will hopefully bring me my health back. I'll definitely keep you posted. And I'm on this journey. I'm going to sit with plant medicine again, and at the beginning of the year, I think it's going to be a great way to start off 2025, because there's so much out there that's they can stress you out. I think going and sitting with Mother Ayahuasca in January, it'll be a great time for me to get some insights as to what is coming up for me in the world. But I can't recommend enough that you reach out to Tammy Adams, whether you are seeking your soul purpose, your soul mate, maybe how you can broaden your business. She could give you so many insights as to where you're supposed to be that, if you have the resources, if you have the time, and if it resonates with you, please do yourself a favor and get to know what your soul purpose is. I guarantee you it probably won't be something that will be unachievable. I'm sure it's going to be something that is already within your reach. You just have to pull it in. And once you step on, it will happen. I mean, I said it in the show. I haven't been doing this podcast even a year yet. And I don't have a lot of time to market it. I'm not a big social media person. And I seem to be getting YouTube subscribers and downloads and whatnot. And I think it's several reasons. One, I think that there is a large contingent of people out there that are starting to wake up and get on their own path. They're starting to snap out of this 3D matrix that we're all living in, where we're expected to just be born, you go to school, you get programmed, you go to college, you get a job, you get the kid with the mortgage. I don't even know how accessible that life is for people coming up behind me. I certainly would not want to be in my 20s again in this environment that we're currently finding ourselves. I see that it's going to be increasingly difficult for normal people to have a normal life, meaning they're not living hand to mouth. They're not living paycheck to paycheck. They're not able to sustain a emergency like a car or health. It's becoming financially unsustainable for many people to have what I would call a normal life where your whole brain space isn't being taken up by money. I think we think about money way too much. I think we think about our politics way too much. And I think that we think about things that don't matter or that shouldn't matter to the extent that they do because it's on purpose. And I think that if we were able to have the kind of lives that allowed us to slow down, that allowed us to have a feeling of not being so insecure, so much in despair, so much sadness, disconnection, you could go on and on and on. If we were living lives that were more grounded, that were more peaceful, where we didn't feel so insecure and we didn't feel so unworthy, we would be able much more readily to start asking bigger questions like who we are, what we're here for, what is life. And we can't even get to those questions because we don't even have the bandwidth, the energy, the time to investigate how magical life is. So I get it. I'm going to keep doing shows. I'm going to try to continue to raise the vibration out there and get people to understand that they are more powerful than they think they are, that there is more going on in there, out there, within us than we think. And I encourage you to do your own research, get out of the mainstream bubble and start investigating things that are outside of what you would come across in your own church or come across in your own daily life and be open minded. I'm not saying be gullible. I'm not saying believe everything that comes out of my mouth. But what I am saying is take control of your own knowledge and stop ingesting things that you already agree with. you know, that was probably one of my biggest hurdles in life is listening to things that I already agreed with that made me feel like I had it all figured out, that I didn't need anybody's help, that I was on the right track. And so I'll say it again. Sometimes you have to be shaken to awaken, but I was. And now I have flipped the switch on everything when it comes to my own belief system that I held on to so dearly for so many years. So get out there, people. Step out of your comfort zone. Crack open that mind. Vibrate higher. And we will see you next week on Fate from Atheism to Enlightenment. If you want to follow me, I'm on Instagram, sort of, at F.A.T.E. podcast. I post clips of the show. I don't have a ton of followers. I'm okay with that. I am letting the universe take its course, and I know the show is going to touch the individuals that it's meant to touch. So I'm putting it in a bubble and blowing away, but I'd love for you to come and follow me, subscribe, tell a friend, do something to support the show. If you think I'm saying things that are important or that resonate with you, tell a friend, turn someone onto the show, subscribe, share, do something to support my endeavor. I would appreciate it very, very much. I would appreciate that. Anyways, gang, we will see you next week on the Fate podcast. Tammy's information will be in the show notes. Discover your life purpose. Have a great day, and welcome to your fate, everyone. I'll see you later. Bye.